Have you ever had the feeling that there is something inside you that is much more powerful than you imagine, but that remains hidden, waiting to be awakened? As if a silent part of your mind was watching your every step, waiting for the right moment to take control and change everything. What if I told you that this part exists, and that it can be reprogrammed with almost surgical results? Not with magic formulas, but with ancient knowledge honed by centuries of observation, philosophy, and practice. Hypnotizing the subconscious is not a stage trick. It is a forgotten art of accessing the deepest core of the being, where habits, automatic decisions, and the invisible force that separates those who try from those who achieve are born. Imagine being able to shape your self-discipline not as a forced effort, but as a natural reflex. Imagine that your success no longer requires willpower, but a mental code implanted in your own internal system. This is not fiction. It is neuroscience combined with ancient wisdom. In this video, we will delve into this mysterious and fascinating territory of the human subconscious. You will discover how ideas, symbols, words, and emotions can penetrate beyond the conscious mind and directly influence what you feel, do, and achieve. We will explore 9 little-known but extremely powerful steps to ethically, deeply, and rigorously hypnotize your own mind and program it for unshakable self-discipline and self-realization. You will learn how to use mental images the way ancient mystics did, how to align your emotions with your intention the way Eastern masters taught, and how to transform sabotaging patterns with practices that modern science is only just beginning to understand, but that were taught by initiates thousands of years ago. Prepare yourself for a journey that goes beyond superficial motivation. Here, you will not just be inspired, you will be transformed. Your subconscious is the root. Hypnotize that root, and the fruit will be beneficial. If you are ready for this kind of power, continue. Because what is coming is not advice, it is an awakening. Next, we'll begin by revealing the first 3 steps, the ones that work most subtly, yet most profoundly, to reprogram what drives your behaviors. Step 9. We start at the end, because it is at the top of the ladder that we see the path we have taken. The final step to hypnotizing the subconscious is, paradoxically, the most subtle. Silent repetition in states of mental transition. It is not about repeating phrases mechanically, but about planting seeds in the fertile ground between wakefulness and sleep. This state, known as theta brainwaves, is a portal. During the minutes before going to sleep and right after waking up, your mind is more permeable. Your ego defenses are down, and your subconscious is on the lookout. When you repeat an affirmation or visualize an action with emotional clarity at this moment, you are not just thinking, you are programming, as if you were writing directly into the source code of your being. Visualize yourself being disciplined, making firm decisions, saying no to what distracts you, feeling proud of it, not as a future desire, but as a current reality. This is more than imagination. It is subconscious instruction. Repetition in this state creates neurological pathways like trails that, over time, become roads. This is where many fail. They let their mind absorb noise before sleeping and sow chaos. But whoever masters this step, masters the hidden stage of the mind. Step 8. Now, let's go back to the previous step, the emotional connection with the image you want to install. The subconscious does not respond to logic. It responds to the emotional charge. If you try to convince yourself of something without feeling anything, the system ignores it. But if you feel fear, shame, desire, or power, the code enters. This is the trick of symbols, archetypes, rituals. This is why myths and religions work as deep programming systems, because they associate symbols with intense emotions. To use this mechanism consciously, associate the idea of self-discipline and success not just with a rational desire, but with something visceral. How does this change your life? How does it affect the people you love? How would you feel if you woke up already being this version of yourself? Emotion is the fuel. Without it, the subconscious remains immobile. With it, it bends and obeys. Feel deeply each command you intend to install. Step 7. Now we return to the invisible base of the system. Silence as an environment for internal recalibration. We live intoxicated by stimuli, sounds, images, opinions. The subconscious is constantly being programmed by the media, by the environment, by the emotions of others. If you do not create spaces of intentional silence, you are not hypnotizing your subconscious. You are letting the world hypnotize it for you. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the moment when the internal overrides the external. It is when you hear your own commands without the noise of others. And it is in this vacuum that you begin to distinguish what is yours, your real desire, your vision, your goal, from what has been installed by conditioning. Step 7 is to create this space. It can be 5 minutes a day. It can be sitting in a dark room. It can be walking without distractions. But it is in this space that the material emerges. It is where you clear the mental field to plant whatever you want. Without silence, there is no clarity. Without clarity, there is no direction. And without direction, the subconscious goes in circles. These 3 steps, altered state repetition, emotional connection, and conscious silence, form the energetic basis of internal hypnosis. They are not visible. They do not produce immediate results, but they are the foundation. And any construction built without a foundation will sink. If you have come this far, you are already feeling it. Transformation does not happen by force, but by the alignment of image, emotion, and repetition. Next, we will move on to the next 3 steps, the ones that begin to sculpt visible behaviors and shape your field of action. The journey is just beginning. Step 6. Now that the ground is prepared, we enter the domain of behavioral identity. This step requires you to embody, in simple and consistent actions, the version of yourself that you want to install. The subconscious learns through coherence, and when your gestures, your speech, your decisions reflect the new self, it begins to believe, not through words, but through evidence. Imagine an actor who lives a role day after day. He begins to feel, in fact, what the character feels. The difference here is that the role is not fiction. It is a projection of a real future. Do you want self-discipline? Wake up early just once, but wake up with intention, with presence. Choose not to react to a distraction just once, but choose like someone who is sculpting a statue with an invisible hammer. The subconscious observes. And if you repeat these micro-actions consistently, it adapts. It understands. This is who I am now. True hypnosis is not magic. It is repetition, loaded with identity. Step 5. We now enter the field of symbolic counterposition. This term may sound strange, but it is a hidden principle that governs transformation. To install something new in the subconscious, you also need to be aware of what will be expelled. This is the principle of space. You cannot plant in soil that has already been taken. Here, the trick is to create symbols of replacement. For example, if procrastination is an old pattern, you can ritualize the discarding of this pattern. Write it down on a piece of paper and burn it. Create a symbolic gesture every time it arises, such as snapping your fingers, taking a deep breath, closing your eyes. The symbol works as a code of refusal. Why? Because the subconscious responds to symbols more than logic. By creating this symbolic act, you inform your mind. This no longer has a place here. And by repeating it, you reinforce the code. The subconscious then begins to react automatically, replacing the old pattern with the new. It is emotional alchemy, transmuting without fighting, replacing without resisting. Step 4. Now we come to the most neglected pillar, the environment as the invisible architect of the subconscious. You can repeat 1,000 affirmations, meditate for hours, but if you are surrounded by stimuli that contradict the new mental image, your progress will be sabotaged. The subconscious is hypersensitive to the environment. Colors, sounds, smells, faces, messages, everything comes in as a suggestion. and the mind absorbs it without filter. So step 4 is to clear the external field. Remove from your life the symbols of the old you. It could be a messy room that reflects internal disorder. It could be a chaotic routine, friends who reinforce harmful patterns, social media that connects you to noise. Whatever anchors you to the old you needs to be transformed, removed, or replaced. By adjusting your environment to reflect discipline, focus, and clarity, even in small ways, you send a silent command to your subconscious. This is the new normal. And the subconscious, like a psychic chameleon, adapts to its new habitat. These 3 steps, behavioral identity, symbolic counterposition, and intentional environment, form the visible framework of reprogramming. While the first steps prepared the invisible field, these now shape the external landscape. The secret lies in the harmony between the two. For the subconscious is like a mirror of water. It only reflects what is above if what is below is calm and clear. And now, we approach the final 3 steps, the deepest, most impactful. Prepare to delve into even more subtle layers of the mind, where the true power of transformation resides. If up until now you have been carving the mold, next you will infuse life into the new being that is about to emerge. Step 3. At this point, the mind is more receptive, but now we enter the realm of internal images. And here lies the power of vivid imagery as a hypnotic tool. The subconscious does not distinguish between reality and a mental image that is heavily charged with emotion. Therefore, the 3rd step is to master the power of symbolic visualization, but not the superficial kind of visualization that is done out of obligation. We are talking about an almost ritualistic practice, where you enter a light state of relaxation and create with all your senses a scene in which you are already what you want to be. It is not enough to see. You need to feel, hear, smell, and mentally touch the scene. Imagine yourself waking up early with energy, finishing projects with fluidity, saying no firmly where you used to give in. The brain is shaped by repetition, and emotional repetitions create neurological shortcuts. Visualize discipline as a flame burning inside you. Do this daily, not as if you were waiting for a miracle, but as if you were programming a hidden code that, little by little, redesigns your being. Step 2. Here we enter an even more subtle layer, the transformative internal dialogue. Most people live imprisoned by a silent, almost imperceptible narrative that runs constantly in the background. I can't do it. I'm just like this. I don't have the strength. These silent commands are negative hypnosis, and the 2nd step is to intercept them. But contrary to what is taught out there, it's not just about repeating positive phrases. It's about rewriting your internal voice with intelligence and strategy. The trick is to use questions instead of affirmations. Instead of saying, "I am disciplined," ask yourself, what would a disciplined person do right now? The question opens space, sparks curiosity, shifts focus, and the subconscious begins to look for answers, and in searching, begins to act in accordance with them. It is at this point that the mind begins to act on its own, not because it was forced, but because it was redirected. Questions are tools of profound direction. Use them to silently rewrite your identity, and before you know it, you'll be acting like someone who no longer recognizes the old me. Step 1. And now we've reached the apex, the most powerful and at the same time the most ignored step. Conscious silence as an anchor for self-discipline. We live in a world of constant noise, stimuli, alerts, demands. And in this excess, the subconscious becomes defensive, reactive, and distracted. The final step is to learn to cultivate moments of complete, intentional silence. 5 minutes a day, in which you sit, breathe, observe, and do nothing. You simply let the void emerge. In this void, without external stimulus, without escape, the subconscious begins to show what it has been keeping hidden. Emotions that you avoided, ideas that were hidden, blocks that you never dared to face begin to emerge. And it is there, in this space of silence, that you find your true self. And when you rediscover this self, you access a strength that does not depend on motivation, but on presence. Silence is not the absence of thought. It is pure presence. And presence generates clarity. And clarity is the fuel of self-discipline. Those who know how to sit in silence without getting lost know how to act firmly without depending on the chaos around them. These last 3 steps, vivid visualization, reformulated internal dialogue, and conscious silence, are like the soul of subconscious hypnosis. Together with the previous steps, they create a complete, profound, intelligent system. A path to transform not only your habits but your entire identity. Now the veil has been lifted. The tools are before you. But they are useless if they are not practiced with intention, with reverence, with constancy. The mind is moldable, but it requires command. And that command begins now. We have reached the part where knowledge needs to be transformed into living practice, where what was understood on a theoretical level begins to shape the body, the behavior, and mainly the energy with which you inhabit the world. Hypnotizing the subconscious is not about mind control in the Hollywood sense of the word. It is about relearning to communicate with the part of you that really decides. And to do this, you need to train, with almost ritualistic discipline, the right internal movements. The first practice is to create a daily hypnotic environment. Choose a calm space. It could be a corner of the room, a seat in the park, even the car parked before going to work. The essential thing is that you associate this space with a specific mental state. Sit down, breathe deeply for 3 cycles. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Do this for 2 minutes. This is your portal. A breathing pattern like this, when repeated daily, teaches the body that there begins the reprogramming process. Next, activate symbolic visualization, as described above. Don't just visualize generic goals. Create scenes, micro-episodes of you acting with discipline. Imagine yourself saying no to a distraction. Imagine yourself completing something you've been avoiding for months. And most importantly, feel it. The subconscious is driven by emotion, not logic. The more sensory and visceral the scene, the deeper it will be recorded. Right after, apply the second exercise, anchor questions. During the day, especially in moments of doubt, laziness, or escape, ask yourself, what would the most disciplined version of me do right now? Don't try to be perfect. Just observe. This question acts like a seed. It plants another identity in you, and if repeated sincerely, it begins to germinate. And if you can write this question in strategic places, a post-it on the mirror, an alarm with this phrase on your cell phone, even better. The subconscious responds to repetition with familiarity. Another powerful exercise is guided self-hypnosis. Record yourself saying in a calm tone phrases like, "I am the master of my attention. My mind responds to what I choose to focus on. Each day I become more steadfast, more centered, more disciplined." Or if you prefer, look for reliable audios with this proposal. Listen to them before going to sleep or when you wake up. In these threshold moments, the subconscious is more vulnerable to suggestion. Take advantage of this half-open door. Don't waste time with news, social networks, or distractions. Use these minutes as gold. And last but not least, practice what we call conscious energetic silence. Set aside at least 5 minutes a day to consume absolutely nothing. No music, conversation, screen. Just you, your breathing, and your inner field. At first it will seem uncomfortable, but this discomfort is the sign that superficial conditioning is breaking. Conscious silence cleanses. It slows down the noise of the reactive mind and makes room for your new identity to manifest. These practices are not magic, but when done consistently, with reverence, and with clear intention, they are transformative. Hypnotizing your subconscious mind into self-discipline doesn't mean becoming a robot. It means becoming someone who acts not because they're forced to, but because they're in harmony with their higher vision. Remember, your subconscious mind doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you repeat with emotion. So the key isn't force, it's ritual. It's repetition charged with presence. Make it a sacred commitment, and you'll find that the habits, the impulses, the distractions, everything that once held you back, begin to lose their power. Because now, you're in charge. Everything you've learned so far comes down to one essential point. You don't have to wait for motivation or rely on momentary willpower. True power lies in building an internal system where your subconscious works for you, not against you. This is the essence of true self-discipline, when taking action becomes a natural reflection of your identity, rather than an exhausting effort of resistance. You've seen that the subconscious doesn't understand empty words, but responds with almost mechanical precision to emotional patterns and repeated images. This is why so many people fail. They say what they want, but continue to harbor images and feelings that are contrary to what they want. The body vibrates with fear, doubt, resistance, and the subconscious registers this as the truth. But now you have the tools to change this game. The 9 steps we've explored are not just techniques, they're gateways. Each one is an invitation for you to take control of your deepest mind and rewrite the codes that have been directing your life up until now. This is not hypnosis in the classical sense, but rather a living, daily, continuous hypnosis. A reprogramming that occurs with each intentional visualization, with each chosen silence, with each conscious act that replaces the automatic one. If you apply what you have learned with sincerity and consistency, what begins to emerge is something that few experience. A state of clarity so firm that even on difficult days you continue. A focus so deep that the noises of the world no longer distract you. A will that does not shout, but imposes itself with unshakable calm. This is the inhuman force that the title of this video mentions, not because it makes you superhuman, but because it makes you fully human, aligned, whole, awake. From now on, each day can be a conscious choice of evolution. You are no longer a spectator of your emotions, your impulses, your laziness. You are the programmer. And when the subconscious understands this, it obeys, with precision, with loyalty, with power. If this message resonated with you, write in the comments, "I command my mind." Let's see who is ready to move from repetition to mastery. And remember, knowledge without practice is just more noise, but knowledge transformed into action is a silent revolution.